This is it. This is the last piece of evidence that you need to produce for Module 1. So congratulations, you're nearly there now, nearly there. So we need first to go back and embed your mapping document within this final product. So we're going to just skip back here to this last activity, and then we're going to go save as, and I'd like you to stick this onto your desktop or another area of your computer that it'll easily be found. We're just going to call this one Susan's RPL mapping, or I've actually called it BSB 401A, which is, you know, the unit code there. So we would just save that to the desktop. I've already saved it there, so all you need to do is save that and exit out. Okay, so once we've done that, so we're ready to go to insert it, we come down to the assessment record. So now you are working still as the trainee assessor, and this is a simulated activity, so there is no real Susan and there is no real Susan Jones's evidence. This is a simulation. Okay, but this is the role play that you're conducting to produce your evidence. So we're going to double click into here and we're going to work through this. So this is the cover sheet of the assessment report. We have the unit code and we have its title there, make a presentation. So the first thing you need to do on the cover sheet is to put in the candidate's name, Susan Jones, and you need to put in your name. So if your name's Jill Smith, you would type in Jill Smith. Whatever your name is, just type it in there. You'll see my name's there as the supervising assessor, and usually when you're starting out at a Certificate 4 level, it is an entry-level trainer and assessor. So depending on the size of your registered training organisation that you're working with, you would most likely start under a supervising assessor until you're learning the forms that they use and the processes that they use. So the forms that you see are the evoke forms, and you're understanding why fields have what they have and how they function, and you can transfer that skill and knowledge into the new forms that your RTO will use. So you'll see that we've said here at Evoke that our assessment report contains our assessment plan. You're going to embed that mapping document in, and within that mapping document you have your tools. So you have that simple assessment tool, those questions that you created, and we're going to open that up and determine that Susan answered those questions satisfactorily and how we would mark that. Finally, within the document we have your report on whether you found Susan to be competent given the range of evidence that's being presented, and any feedback that we're offering either Susan or just to have recorded on the report in case there's an ASQA audit, or if we're validating, you know, and double checking the assessment decisions we've made. So that's all that this document will contain. Let's move on. The plan always starts with the assessment plan, and this is good revision for you. You've come across this before in the module. So Susan being recognised prior learning, we've highlighted here that we're recognising a current existing competence, okay, and that is so she can be qualified here in Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment. Because it's RPL, the context is based on her workplace, and we've just created a fictitious organisation. So, you know, you might call it South Australia High School, or, you know, Western Australia High School, whatever you like. That's fine. The function of the address there is for an assessor who would be going to a workplace to do face-to-face assessing. So it isn't as essential here in this document. The stakeholders notified are the candidate and of course the supervising assessor who would be checking over the work, especially in the early days. Now the assessment methods are agreed upon with the candidate, but you as the professional are making sure that they're going to meet the rules of evidence. So we need to make sure that there's a sufficient range of evidence, and obviously that it's current, and you can go back and do some revision on that if you like about the rules of evidence. But we've agreed that because she's a school teacher, that her current teacher's registration and qualifications is an exceptionally strong product. So that's going to be strong enough evidence. We're just going to supplement that with some questions to double check the knowledge component there, and that's going to be done in the form of an interview in the competency conversation. This is now where we're going to insert your mapping. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little computer trick here. You might be aware of it already. So we go to Insert, Object, Create from File, Browse, and when we go into the desktop, there it is, we would find where you've just saved that. So I think we called it Susan's RPL. Should have given Susan a name like Anne, so it's A instead of S. Okay, there we are. We've double clicked on that. Now the final thing you need to do is display it as an icon. Okay, otherwise you're going to have documents within documents and it's pretty messy. So display it as an icon. We can see even the file names come up beautifully here. Hit OK. Now, I don't know why it jumped off the page, but there you can see it's magically inserted itself. Alright, so now we have our mapping because we're containing everything within the one report. And if ASCA was coming to audit, they'd want to know, well, how did you determine the range of evidence? What sort of questions have you asked? What sort of products? How do you know that you've designed and agreed upon the evidence correctly? We've got all of it there contained. Now we do need to assume that you had interviewed Susan. This is simulated, but we need to go and mark her. So whatever questions that you've had there, you are showing that you've got your red text benchmark responses as part of your assessment tool. Whoops. Gone too far ahead. And the final thing we need to do is just for this procedure is we're going to just put our satisfactory or not satisfactory within this document here. So wherever your questions are, I'm going to just open up that ribbon here. Okay, we're going to go to Home, make it nice and big, make it blue, maybe bold it up a bit as well, and we're going to put S for satisfactory, and we're just assuming that during that competency conversation that you had with Susan that she was answering all of those questions satisfactorily. So buzz through that document, make sure you just copy and paste that S for satisfactory, copy, and the next time that you've asked a question you can see there from your mapping where to look. Here we are. I'm going to paste that there again. Paste it here. So we asked quite a lot of questions there. Here's another one. Isn't it so easy with that mapping to see where there's a question that didn't quite come across the page there? Here we are. Right click, paste. Okay, was there any other questions? Here's one. Alright, so just go through that. Once you've marked them all satisfactory, file, save. Always make sure that you save your work before exiting. Otherwise you'll lose all of that, and when we come to assess it we'll have to ask you to resubmit it only because you didn't hit the save button. Right, so there it all is, your mapping, your tools that have actually marked whether she satisfactorily answered them or not. It's all contained there now. Beautiful. So we move down. Next, we're checking her portfolio of evidence, and this has already been embedded here for you to make your decision on competency. So it says here within these documents in her portfolio, we've got her current teacher's registration with the Queensland College of Teachers. In that one, we're checking for currency. I want you to check, and this document, because Susan has photocopied it, it will be quite fuzzy on the YouTube. So as an assessor, you would be checking for the registration date to be, you know, longer than today's date, okay, and in this one it is. You're checking that with her qualifications that's been signed off by a JP, that her driver's license and birth certificate has been signed off by a Justice of the Peace as well, okay. So let's go in there and have a little look. Now don't forget, these have been doctored to protect the confidentiality of candidates, and when you go in, just whiz through that and you'll actually see that it's all quite good. See, we've got a big sample across it. Susan Jones, and we've got the JP on that document. Moving down, here we've got her Bachelor of Education, Susan Jones, it's been JP'd, that's fine. Now we have her doctored up driver's license. Okay, that's been JP'd. We can see that here in the bottom right hand corner. Moving down. Finally, we have her Queensland College of Teachers registration, and here we have the expiry date as 2015. Well, it's only 2013, so it's current, and it's been signed by a JP as well up here. So fantastic, we can close out of there. We've assessed that. We know that all of her portfolio of evidence that she agreed upon was effective. We didn't need any PowerPoints. That was part of what we negotiated with her for her product. So, given that, we can determine that Susan is competent. How do we do that? How are we going to mark it on this document? Go into the competence cell, the first one, and then go up here to the cell highlighter and just highlight it yellow. We don't have to have any further evidence, but we can provide her with some feedback. And it's, in this case, because it's not really necessary to ask for other evidence, we don't need to explain why it wasn't competent at this point. This is the other target audience. This is ASQA, or this is you selecting this recognised prior learning to submit for validation and having another assessor determine it. So, you know, this might happen 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the track. You need to know why you made this competency decision. So here you might put something to the effect of, candidate provided strong evidence of skill, knowledge and attitude through her QCT registration. Supplementary evidence involved a competency conversation where knowledge of effective communication was satisfactory. That covers everything that unit had asked for. You'll be guided by your supervising assessor as an entry-level trainer and assessor as to what they're after in that registered training organisation. So we're just doing a very simple, very easy RPL at this early stage for you. We're saying that she's competent, therefore, you know, we're not needing to provide a lot of other information. Gaps in performance is nil. Strategies for further improvement, not applicable, because, you know, she's gained her, we're giving her recognition. Now, because we didn't need to get back to Susan with any feedback and ask her to resubmit, there was no interview date with a candidate. We didn't need to discuss that. We're just simply going to post out her statement of attainment in the mail, and that's feedback enough for her. That's what Susan is after in this scenario. So that's fine. All we have to do now is sign it. Now, because it's an electronic document, I'm happy with an X, and just put on today's date. Okay, today's date, actual date would be fantastic. Don't forget to save that document. Always save that and exit back out. You are done. Well done.